want to keep paying nothing in property taxes to the city.
Yeah, I wonder how that will go.
And make sure that the commercial businesses have their rate doubled, and the rental car agencies have their per car fee significantly increased as well.
Now we should give people a little sense of just how big the town of Edmundson really is.
Excellent.
The town of Edmundson is 836 people.
I would have guessed even bigger than that. I would have guessed a couple thousand.
The square mileage of Edmundson is 0.26. 834 people, 836 people, that's estimated as of 2012. I don't know if there's been a huge boom in buildings in Edmundson since 2012, but according to the census, since 2012, 836 people. And I can only imagine how many tickets they wrote in Edmundson over the course of the last year or so.
Well, I mean, tons. They're located just south of the airport.
Right
along Natural Bridge, I-70. So they've been taking advantage for a long time of the ticket abuse, and now they're just going to abuse non-residents another way through a dramatic property tax and rental car tax increase.
Here's what I don't understand, though. I don't understand... it's 56% white, 26% African American. Now, what I don't understand is why that town exists in the first place. What world do we live in where a town of 830 people, and it's not in rural Missouri where the next town over is, 20 miles away. And they all sort of, grew up in this one sort of business hub, and that was sort of where you all brought your beaver pelts in the 1850s. This is in the middle of metropolitan St. Louis. There's no reason for the town of Edmundson to exist.
Well, most cities in St. Louis County created whatever they created, be it 100 years ago or like Wildwood 20 years ago. Most cities were created to get control of local zoning and local plan use and local planning. So whether a lot of cities were created sort of between World War I and World War II, and they would have been done because people who lived there said, we want to control the growth around our community. And in many of these cities, it might have been also connected with, we want to control who gets to move into our city and who doesn't, with rules on what race could move in and what couldn't. Well, those have obviously and thankfully all been declared illegal now, but a lot of cities were built for those types of reasons, 70, 80 years ago. And I guess you understood that reason, especially the control of land use and zoning,
right,
as a reason for wanting to get a city. But now that these areas are all 100% developed and there's very limited growth, to have a city like Edmonton, which is saying, well, because we've got businesses serving the airport, we can tax them, we can double their taxation and continue to allow the residents to pay nothing to the city in property taxes.
Right.
That's terrible policy. You get good policy when everybody has a little skin in the game, and when you make choices on growth, expansion of government, or better yet, cuts in government, that everybody's putting something in so it affects them. Edmonton's setting up a system where the residents can get as much government as they want because they're not paying for it.
I thought the Show Me Institute and you have advocated for taxing property over people because property can't move out of town.
Yes. I mean, land taxation, which is a part of property taxation, is, among economists, very widely agreed to be a very good way to fund local government.
Right.
Unfortunately, pure land taxation is illegal in Missouri. You have to tax the improvement or building and the land at the same rate. So, long story short, yes, property taxes are a good way to do it, but everybody should be paying into the property tax rate. It's not a good system to double your commercial rate so that your businesses pay a lot while your residents pay nothing. And that's what Edmundson is setting up a system. They've had this system where the residents don't pay anything in property taxes. Now they're going to make it even worse. Everybody needs to be putting into the system so that everybody can be making choices, getting benefits from it, and paying the burden of it at the same time. When you're just saying, "Oh, the businesses will pay for all of it," that leads to terrible policy choices, such as it's no better or no worse really than saying we're going to fund our government through citations. You're exporting the cost of funding your city to the people who don't live there.
So this goes to the vote of the people. Is it a 50-50 vote? Is it a 2/3? Is it a 5/7? I mean, do we know if it's just a straight up 50-50 vote?
I think it'll be a straight up 50-50 vote. Most property tax rate increases are. The bond issues tend to be the higher percentage requirements at times. It's going to be in November, and unfortunately, I doubt Edmundson is the first one. I bet we'll see other cities doing this. Now, if they do this, where both the residents and the businesses are all going to pick up part of the burden, where the residents might then say, well, all right, maybe I don't want to. Let's disincorporate the city or merge with a neighboring city.
Right.
That's a good thing. But certain cities like Edmundson and some others near the airport or with a lot of commercial property, if they do this, where they set one rate for commercial property and keep the rate on residents lower, I think it'll be time for the state legislature to change the rule allowing St. Louis County to set different rates on different styles of property and go back like it is the rest of Missouri, where it's just one rate for everything.
Edmundson is also the town where the letter was released and where the mayor, I want to say, sent out a letter to the police saying, "Hey, if you want raises, if you want to maintain your salary, you better get out there and start writing some more tickets."
It is absolutely the same town. A terribly offensive and infuriating letter sent out a while back that really we all knew, but this just further nakedly exposed the scam that is the ticket writing system in many cities in Missouri and in St. Louis County. And this new system, I would say it's just as bad. It's saying residents of the city, you don't have to pay property taxes. We'll tax everybody else to fund our. There's nothing wrong with requiring tourists or businesses to put in their share to the city. That's how everybody does it. But the idea that residents won't have to pay anything, that is terrible public policy.
Here's what I don't understand about all of this stuff. When you talk about merging these small little towns or sort of annexing another town, St. Louis City and St. Louis County don't annex. They can't annex for all sorts of reasons. But let's say Edmundson decides, or somebody floats an idea of Edmundson going away. People actually think Edmundson's going to go away. It will still exist. You'll still be in the Edmundson neighborhood. You just won't have a mayor. You just won't have a city council, right? I mean, you'll still be there. It'll still be called Edmundson. It just won't have a quote-unquote mayor, right? So that's people just think it'll go away. It doesn't go away. It's still there.
Absolutely, in the same way that Afton and Lemay and Melville and Oakville. I mean,
because they don't have a police department, do they, Edmundson?
Oh yeah, they do.
Oh, they do have a police department.
They do. If you've driven near the airport on I-70, you might have.
I thought it fell
You might have
under.
met them once.
No, they have 6 cars, by the way. 2 Ford police Interceptors and 4 Dodge Chargers.
6 police cars
in Edmundson
for a town of
830
nearly 900.
people.
Yeah. But McGraw, as you said, the sense of community in the unincorporated areas, and I know plenty of people who live in unincorporated St. Louis County, it's every bit as strong as in a city that might have legal boundaries.
Right.
I mean, the existence of the city's legal boundaries don't make for community.
Right.
Neighbors and merchants you frequent and churches you go together and schools you attend together. That makes community, not a legal boundary.
Just because the Hill doesn't have a mayor doesn't mean the Hill isn't a community, or the Shaw neighborhood, or pick a place. Really interesting. When is this going to go to a vote? Do we know?
November. It'll be on the November special election, so plenty of time to talk about it. And I hope. Let me just say that I do trust the wisdom of voters in this state, and I think
for the most part,
it would be great if the people of Edmundson realized, despite the incredible incentive the politicians have put before them to vote yes, if enough of them said, you know what, this is wrong, let's cut our government in Edmundson, let's consider other options, as opposed to just dramatically increasing the taxes on businesses that serve the airport, which I think clearly, if you're going to double tax rates, you're going to run the risk that some of these are going to close or move.
Well, and they only have 6 cop cars, but their town is only a quarter of a mile wide. It's a 0.26 square miles. So it's one lap around a track square. That's what it is.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, this is not a poor community writing tickets and now doing this taxing. Edmundson is a solid middle-class community, been that way for a long time. The people in that city can afford to fund their government alongside the businesses and the tourists and everything. You shouldn't export the entire tax base to the other.
it's a 0.2 square miles, 0.25 square miles. That's a lap around a track, right?
It's about as big as this building, I think.
That's not very big at all. I think that, yeah, so Edmundson. Well, we'll wait and see what happens. All right. When can we read you? When can we see you, David Stokes?
A lot of information up on the problems of small cities and the good parts that can come from disincorporation and similar types of things at showmeinstitute.org.
David Stokes, have yourself a good week.
Thanks, McGraw. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
8:48 here, Big 550.